Next up, and it seems that the incidents of ghosting have actually been growing through the pandemic. This is where employers and candidates sometimes simply disappear partway through a recruitment process with no explanation about what went wrong. On the employer side, it usually means they've gone with a different candidate, but there are plenty of good reasons to keep those rejected and even those second and third choice candidates who only just missed out well inside the loop. Potential recruits can do it too, effectively ignoring job offers when a better option becomes available. Now, a recent survey by recruitment agency Indeed found that 77% of job seekers and 28% of employers claim to have been ghosted at least once during 2020. Laurence, what do you see as the impact for employers and HR teams that leave candidates second-guessing their recruitment processes like this?
I think this is really interesting, and I'm curious if we're getting better at collecting the data or this is really a growing trend, because I think we've all experienced this over our career. I do think for organizations, and again, large organizations have complex systems that should be able to do all of this at the push of a button. So, letting candidates know we've changed our strategy, gone with an internal candidate or chosen somebody else, but thank you for your time and attention, should just be a press of a button. So there really is no excuse at that level. For smaller organizations, I think it's more excusable because you just don't have the capacity or the HR team to handle that. But going back to one of our comments earlier, especially around critical roles and essential, tech skills, you're crazy if you're not keeping those people in view and keeping a relationship with them, and indeed, dropping them even a personal note to say, thank you for your time, we've gone with somebody else, but we'd really like to keep in touch, and here's why. Because you never know with the speed of change in the marketplace these days. So from an employer perspective, I think, it's just good basic employer branding to follow through, to let people know and to not leave people hanging. From a candidate perspective, I think it is more understandable, but again, it depends on the seniority of the role. From a professionalism perspective, I think it's always good to let people know, because you never know, things go around and they come around. So I really think we should try as possible, even if it's just a little note, even if it's just a, thank you, I've taken something else, or I've decided not to take the role. So, I would urge people, both in-house and candidates, take the minute. It's a minute. Take a minute or two and just draft a little note, because the world is a very small place, and 3-4 years from now you might end up bumping the same person in a different situation.
Now, I have to admit here that I am actually guilty of this myself in some of the recruitment that took place for Chief of Staff Asia last year. And I don't really know why. Certainly I can understand the value that you've outlined there, and sending an email is a pretty easy thing to do, really. Laurence, why do you think more employers, including myself, don't actually get back to their unsuccessful candidates?
I mean, honestly, right, it's easy to sit here on, being recorded on a nice video and say the things everybody should do. The reality is, day to day, we're all so damn busy. And finding that ideal candidate is typically so hard. And, the number of interviews and candidates you make, by the time you're like, yes, thank goodness, I've got that person, it's almost an emotional release. So, then having to sit down and write, I'm sorry, notes to, 6 or 7 other candidates, it's hard, right? So it's easy for me to say what we should do, but in reality, few of us really do it. If you don't have a system in place, then it comes down to human nature, and we're busy people.
And finally, it's a smaller issue, but possibly one that has been legitimised by impacted job seekers. But what about when employers don't hear back from potential employees? Did this happen much across your career, and is there anything HR can do about it?
So a couple of things. And again, it comes down to the extent to, how well have you kept them informed during the process? Have there been ongoing communications and any sort of relationship built? Because often employees, candidates, there's a touch point, then there's silence for a very long time, then suddenly it's hurry up and rush, and there's another touch point, and then there's silence for if we're better filling the gaps, the candidates may feel more inclined to respond to us and keep us informed and let us know, or even drop us a note to say, hey, just want to let you know, I'm really interested in the opportunity with you. I do have another opportunity that's moving quite fast as well.